Yo, so what's up guys? So currently at this video, it's going to be a very long video wherein I'm going to share with you everything I learned throughout my first semester, especially in college. So let me introduce myself first. So my name is Kenneth Sarmiento, a first year computer engineering student at Ateneo de Naga University. So I'm going to share to you some insights and some practical tips that may help you, especially if you are grade 12. So you might want to um, get a gist or listen to what I'm going to say. So this is going to be a very long content. So I highly recommend for you to just treat this as a podcast wherein grab your earphones or headphones and go do something nice, like for example while listening to what I'm going to say, um, go and do household chores, maybe maghugas ka ng pinggan, maybe you go for a walk, and just try to listen to what I'm going to say, and there may be some instances of some aha moment that, wait, I think I can do this, something like that. So maybe you will get a lot of valuable lesson. So I'm going to share with you actually a lot of things, a lot of thought-provoking contents and something. So disclaimer, so this is based on my personal experiences, and unlike the other YouTube, this is going to be a long form and unedited ones. So if you reach to this point, 1 minute and 30 minutes without scrolling your cell phone, without looking at other things, I highly commend you because your attention span is super high. So let's dive in. So here is going to be my first lesson that I'm going to share to you. So I had this moment in pre-calculus. So in Ateneo, especially during the first semester, so we have this subject called bridging, and we have pre-calculus, especially me, since hindi ako nag-take ng STEM na strand. So here in Philippines, there's something called STEM, like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics strand. Meanwhile, I take the GAS, like the general academic strand. So I take pre-calculus, and I had this moment, like weird realization. Like ito yung nangyayari. Every time na nauuna akong magpasa ng test paper, every time there will be a moment that meron akong mali, like 1 to 2 mistakes. Lagi yan. So I had developed this rule. It's called 3-time rule. So for example, like exam ako, tapos nauna ako natapos sa klase, hindi ko muna yan ipapasa yung test paper, kundi ang gagawin ko, I will take a nap, for example 2 minute, 3 minute, then I will go and recheck every single item again. After that, take a nap again and recheck for the last time. And I'm pretty sure there will be always a 1 item or 2 item that I I got the wrong solution. So it really saves me a lot, especially some important point. So ito yung advice na isinulat ko dito. When having an exam, always take your time. Never ka magmadali, especially in mathematics. It doesn't matter if you are the last one to submit. What's important is that you submitted the paper, confident and assured that you did all your best. So ito yung realization ko. So sometimes, because of the mentality that you should be the first to submit, especially in a highly competitive environment, we have this mentality that kapag nauna tayong natapos, ipapasa natin agad. And I am guilty that I also do it, because I have this thought of, wait, if I submit early, I have this validation that, nag-aral siya ng mabuti. But thinking the pros and cons, the cons outweigh the pros, because there will be always a 1 to 2 item that mali ka and you didn't double check before. So sometimes, because of the mentality that you should be the first, you forgot to consider the quality of your output, or worst case, recheck your output. Okay, so I also learned during my college this second realization. So dito mo mafe-feel yung doubt. So what I mean by dito mo mafe-feel yung doubt, so brief background check. When I was in high school, so at high school I graduated as valedictorian, and I always managed to achieve the every time there's a quiz, I always manage to get the highest score possible. And if kung hindi man, at very least 1 to 3 mistakes. Lagi yan sa mga quizzes, sa mga outputs. So, whenever there is an quizzes, ang lagi ko niyang goal is mga 1 to 3 mistakes, something like that. So, sa school na Ateneo, parang doon mo mafe-feel yung doubt. Kasi, if dati, lagi ka nag-excel sa environment mo, doon sa bagong environment mo, it seems that you are not enough. So, maybe it is because of the very environment na very competitive yung mga peers mo. Especially, talagang ma-pressure ka talaga sa environment na yan. So, when choosing a college, it's up to you. So, if you want competitive school, go for Ateneo. There are some schools that medyo chillax lang yung yung vibes nila. But yeah. Okay, let's go to the realization number 3. So, I take a course of computer engineering, and sa course na to, marami akong na-meet na mga classmates ko na super gagaling nung high school. And I also meet some classmates na hindi masyado nag-excel nung high school. However, when it came to the actual performance, when it came to the actual grading, yung mga scores sa mga quizzes, I had this very weird realization that yung ibang mga classmate ko na super nag-excel nung high school sila, pagdating sa engineering, parang hindi na ganito yung performance nila, parang bumaba. Kumbaga, parang hindi sila compatible sa course na yon. Meanwhile, there are also some of my classmates na although average lang yung performance nila nung high school, pagdating sa engineering talagang high na high. Parang isipin mo, for example, ako, I graduated as someone with the highest grade in our school. However, when it came to the engineering, parang yung performance ko naging na lang average. Kasi yung mga classmates ko talaga is super gagaling nila. Talagang very siyang environment. What should I call this? Parang you're surrounded by the elite of the elites, something like that. Okay. So, yung nilagay ko dito is sa engineering marami kang mamimit na magagaling noong high school. Pero pagdating sa actual performance, yung previously na hindi masyadong ma-recognize, sila pa yung mas nagsashine. Why? So, I had this classmate. So, ang name niya is JB. So, based on my observation, si JB, siya yung parang top 1 namin sa batch, sa block namin, sa course namin. Kasi, sa calculus, siya yung may pinakamataas na grade possible. So, isipin mo yung calculus, siya yung parang pinaka-major subject at isa sa mga pinakamahihirap na subject sa first year. So, si JB, compared sa mga classmates ko, parang yung achievements niya is parang na-outshine ng mga classmates ko. However, when it came to the actual performance sa engineering subjects, mas nag-shine pa siya, especially when it comes to programming, especially when it comes to the robotics, and especially when it comes to mathematics. Parang lahat ng yan is nag-shine siya. Kasi ito yung secret niya, sinabi niya sa akin. So, sinabi niya sa akin na grade 12 pa lang daw siya is nag-aaral na siya ng calculus. Grade 11 pa lang siya nag-aaral na siya ng robotics. So, kung i-compare mo yung yung experiences niya compared sa experiences ko or yung mga classmate namin, yung foundation niya, especially sa course namin, is super super deep. So, what matters most, especially in engineering, is that your foundation should be really really solid. Okay, so advice number 4. So, speaking of foundation, in differential calculus, talagang super needed na meron kang magandang foundation. Especially sa algebra. Particularly yung mga algebraic manipulations. And most importantly, pag integral na yung trigonometry. So, but among all of these, what's more important when it comes to this subject is practice. Why did I say that? Kasi, think of it this way. Yung prof mo, nandyan sila, hindi para magturo, kundi para pahirapan ka. Yes, and I really mean it. So, sa engineering kasi, hindi siya katulad ng high school na parang baby ka ng mga teacher. Kung ano yung itinuran nila, yun din yung ilalabas sa quiz. Especially sa mathematics. I remember, when I was high school, halimbawa, nagbigay sila ng mga example. Kung ano yung mga example nila, matik, yan din yung mga lalabas sa quiz. However, when it comes to engineering, very different. Ang mga example nila, super simple. However, yung mga lalabas sa quizzes, yung mga lalabas sa exam, very, very different sa examples. And it requires a lot more algebraic manipulation and some practice beyond what is taught to you in that classroom. Think of it this way. Throughout the years na nagtuturo yung mga professors mo, they know what type of problem is challenging. And your goal as a student is not to review only what is taught to you in classroom, but to find and practice the most difficult practice problems. Expose yourself to variety or iba't ibang uri ng problem. Kasi the only way to prepare for this subject, the calculus, is to expose yourself more to different types of problems, different types of scenario. Para kapag nag-quiz ka man, meron kang idea. So, I'm going to share to you sa parang my experiences, especially as someone who came from non-STEM background. So, I came from general academic strand. So, kukunti lang doon ang math. So, you can say that yung foundation ko sa math is very weak. Tapos, per semester, sinabak na agad ako sa differential calculus. So, I'm taking pre-calculus, differential calculus, mathematics and modern world, these three all at the same time. So, may bridging na, tapos meron pang major. So, parang weird nga, kasi dapat yung pre-calculus sa, sa summer siya. Pero, sinabay na sa curriculum namin. But, this is my very big mistake. So, during the first few weeks, ang ginawa ko nun is yung similar approach na ginagawa ko nung high school. So, I memorize using flashcards, and I also practice what is yung mga itinuro lang. Tapos, nung first quiz, especially first quiz, first exams, talagang na-depress ako kasi yung mga scores ko super bababa. Isipin mo, wag ko na sabihin yung ko. Basta ang importante nakapasa. So siguro itong picture na to yung proof na super hirap ka ng subject namin. So, yeah. Okay, so let's proceed to the key point number 5. So, sinulat ko dito na know that those people that you know before will not be the same person. So, I have this old classmate during the elementary. So, in grade 6, we are classmate grade 5, grade 4, grade 3. So, throughout the elementary, naging classmate ko siya. And at first, I have a kind of bad impression of him. However, there's something that I realized during our interaction, especially na college na kami. It is that those same person that you met before, they change throughout the years. And maybe after 5 years, 6 years, when you meet them again, they would be a whole bunch different from what you know before. So people change, and our old impression is stick kasi. So we have these biases that masama yung pagkakakilala ko diyan. So after 10 years, pag nakita mo siya, masama yan tao na yan, where in fact nag-change na pala siya. So it's kind of nice to have this idea that people change throughout the years, and their personality today may not be their personality 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now. Okay, so key point number 6. Sinulat ko dito na it would really take you a lot of patience to grind, but the best thing that you can do is stay patient. This is especially true when it comes to calculus, to P6, practice problem. So this subject, especially the major ones, it really requires a lot of practice, and it's going to test your patience. So there will be a moment na nag-practice ka, tapos yung scores mo hindi nag-reflect proportionally doon sa efforts na nilagay mo. So I remember during the first semester, ano ata yun? If I'm not wrong, that is a midterms. So nangyari kasi noon, preliminary exam. So I kind of stick to my old habit during high school, and yung exam scores ko is super bababa. So what I did, I really practice a lot. So meron kaming libro noon sa calculus na ganito kakapal. And ang ginawa ko, ipinaractice ko yung lahat ng mga problem doon sa libro. Tapos it takes a lot of time. Like, isipin mo, isang problem, minsan naabutin ako niyan 20 minutes bago kayo matapos kasi hindi ko siya alam kung paano i-solve, and I need to research on the solution. Tapos kung minsan may mga paywall pa yung mga calculator online. So, it takes a lot of time talaga to practice all that. So, isipin mo siguro ang average mga sa isang oras, makakaano ako niyan 5 to 10 problems. And my advice when it comes to to this subject, expose yourself to a lot of problems. The sooner, the better. So do not cram, promise. It will really save you a lot of mental struggle. Huwag yung ikakram ang calculus, promise. Okay, so key point number 6. So I want you to know that in college, especially in the big four school like Ateneo or UP, there will be a lot of people with great background, different backgrounds, especially in top school. In this environment, you will feel a doubt whether your achievements really matter. But you know what? What's the important thing to do is to just focus on your own race. Just like the saying, do not compare your day 1 to someone else day 1000. You do not know how much time and effort they dedicated in that field ahead of you. So just like what I said before, I have this classmate. So his name is JB and siya yung parang top 1 namin sa klase. So during the first few weeks in Ateneo, especially when after the exams, I couldn't help but compare myself to him because his achievements in high school parang siya, parang okay lang. Pero now in college talagang he really shines, especially sa course na yon. So we can say that yung course na is parang compatible sa kanya. And there will be a moment na after the exam, especially in mathematics like calculus, I couldn't help but think, uy, sana all ang galing niya sa math. And when you compare yourself to someone else, you couldn't help but feel bad kasi feeling mo parang yung efforts mo parang baliwala lang. Yung nag-effort ka tapos wala lang din naman nangyayari because someone else will get that achievement to you. But the most important turning point here is to not compare yourself to them because just like what I learned to him, kung compared sa akin na noong grade 12, grade 11, focus ako sa mga school orgs, focus ako sa mga general subjects, memorization. Siya during his high school days, he focuses on robotics, in programming, in calculus. So, do not compare your day 1 to someone else day 1000 because he deserves it. He put a lot of time, effort, energy, and dedication in that specific field. Yeah, so it's better to have that thing in mind. Key point number 7. So, I have written here, the sense of novelty quickly fades. So, I have this weird analogy na napag-usapan ko sa mga friends ko before, especially during the first semester. So, Ateneo Dinago University is my dream school actually. And the first time na I walk around the campus, talagang super hype up ako. Like, alam mo yung word na parang nababalik ka, something like that. So, because bro, imagine this is your dream school and you managed to actually get into that school. And that's why I remembered at that moment, I was really grateful for entering that school. Tapos, I couldn't help but walk around the campus almost every day. Especially the iconic scene of Ateneo, the 4 pillars. Kasi, when you think about it, you really deserve it because entering that school really requires you a lot of effort and dedication. And those things, paid off. But, going up to the topics, I have written that there is a weird paradox. So, I've written here, the first time you achieve your dream is the most blissful day of your life. The same is true for the following days and weeks. But after months, the sense of novelty starts to fade away. And what is left is the boring daily grind at the present moment. And this is true, especially for me. So, during the first days and first few weeks of going to Ateneo, I was really hyped up and I was always happy. Like, I have this very high mood. But after a few months, those sense of happiness became normal. And what's left is me waking up, walking in the 4 pillars, and just living a normal life. So, parang parang weird siya. Kasi, we have this tendency to think that, hey, I want to become valedictorian and if I achieve this, I will become the most happiest person on the earth. Yes, you will be happy for a few moments, but after a few weeks, after a few months, that sense of novelty, that sense of happiness quickly fades away and what's left is you living the daily life, the daily morning, daily boring, monotonous day of life. So, yeah, kind of weird. This is also true, especially when it comes to to ACADS, to academic validation. I remember when I was elementary, grade 6. So, during elementary, when I was grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, and I did not enter the honors list, those students with 90 above. And it was not only until the grade 6 second quarter that I start to have this desire, like, wait, I want to become with honors. So what I did, I really worked for it, and by third quarter, I managed to get a grade of 90 for the like, imagine being in grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, 3 whole years and a half not entering a academic recognition. Then suddenly in grade 6, third quarter, you managed to be in the honors list. I remember that moment, those third quarter recognition. That moment is one of the most blissful moment of my life. This is especially true when I was grade 6, and during the graduation, I managed to have a grade of 90. So when it is first quarter, my grade is 88, second quarter 89, third quarter 90, and fourth quarter 91. So if you average that, it is, I think, 89.5 or 90, something like that. So I remembered throughout our batch, among 200 students, there is a 17 student who managed to be with honors, and I am among one of them. I think I am ranked 16 by that time, and I remembered very weird analogy. Among those 17 graduates who graduated with honors, I feel that even though I am ranked 16, that moment is one of my most happiest moment of my life, because that is the first time that I manage to go on a stage, especially in graduation, and receive an award. So after that moment, so syempre very motivated ako na to do well in academics. So fast forward during the high school days. So during high school, when I was grade 7, I really start to pay more attention to studying, especially reviewing every night what I wrote. And during grade 7, I managed to have a grade of 93. So imagine that, from 90 during the grade 6, going to grade 7, the high school days, I managed to get a 93. And during the grade 8, second quarter, for the first time, I managed to get with high honors. So during that moment, I remembered, third quarter ba yun? Ay, second quarter ba yun, third quarter? So I think grade 8, third quarter, I managed to get a with high honors for the first time. So yung medal kasi niyan, 'di ba, mga with honor bronze, tapos yung with high parang silver, tapos with highest gold. So I remembered achieving with high honor for the first time. That same highness, yung parang same happiness level during the graduation ng grade 6. Parang I feel it again once more when I achieve a higher recognition, the with high honors. So, but I have written here, when I was grade 8, I achieved with high honor for the first time. But when comparing it, when I achieved it again, when I was in grade 10, academic validation feels like a trap, because it keeps you desiring more after you achieve something. So, yeah. I have this weird realization, like, the first time you achieve something is one of the most happiest moment of your life. And the second time you achieve it, you became happy. However, once you keep achieving the same achievement again, like for example, when I was in senior high school, I always get a with high honors every quarter. So my grade is always 95 above. So those achievement of being awarded with high honors every quarter becomes like a normal thing for me, that whenever I was awarded with high honors, it just feels like okay, something like that. Like, you expect that you will have the same high level of happiness, but in reality, once you keep achieving it, it became a normal part of your life. It became the baseline of your happiness, that if you fail to achieve it, your happiness actually drops down. So this is what I think is called academic validation trap. So I have written here, the advice that I can give: shift your perspective to performance-based satisfaction rather than result-based. Instead of saying to yourself, I would be happy if I achieve this or that, say, I would be happy if I do this. Because you see, not all the time we could achieve what our desire is, but knowing you absolutely did your best leave you with no regrets, and it even gives you motivation to do better next time. So instead of focusing to the end result, that oh, if I achieve this I will be happy for the rest of my life, shift your perspective. Okay, I am doing this and I am in healthy body. If I finish this work, I will be happy. Something like that. Instead of the result based, you base your happiness to the performance based. Okay, so the last advice that I can give to you is that be clear on what you want. So this is what I have written, and I'm going to read this to you. This is a reminder that I set to myself few months ago. Transitioning from being the president of our school to ordinary feels that you lost something: the authority, validation, and satisfaction. To the point that I have a series of goals saying that in this year, I would join this organization. Oh, it seems that being part of this organization is nice. Until I realized, wait a minute, what do I actually want? So you see, I am still a freshman, a first year student that is still in the phase of transition. The thing is that what important right now is that I adjust and look for things that works. It's very important that I do not spread myself very thin, especially in responsibilities. Instead, I need to think about it more clearly before I commit to other organization. Because only when I am 100% sure in my heart that I really want to join that organization, yes, that's a good signal that you should join that organization. But in my case, in this very present moment, I would enjoy the feeling of being freshman, because my goal right now is to prioritize my study and share my valuable learnings to you. Okay, so now that my advice is something that I know that some things of there click to you, and some things that lumabas lang sa tenga nyo, but this is the bonus part. I have these additional ideas and I will give you a practical advice, especially if you're going to take a engineering course. Competitive school man yan, sa Biscas, sa Ateneo, sa NCF, or any school, UP, De La Salle, something like that. So this is my practical advice, especially if you're going to take a engineering course. So practical advice number 1, buy a one ream bond paper. Yung bond paper na merong 500 pieces. So that thing cost 200 pesos, I think. So instead of buying a notebook, yung mga 20 pesos yung mga 20 pesos plus na notebook na bibili ka ng ganun for 10 subjects, something like that. What I recommend more is that you will buy a one ream bond paper, because in college, promise, in college, hindi na uso yung sa high school na kailangan ng notebook, because most of the materials are PowerPoint, and you actually don't need a notebook for that one. What you need is a one ream bond paper and a folder. So this is what I practically do. So I'm going to give you a practical one. Okay, so what you are seeing right now is a clipboard na ibinili ko lang doon sa may tapat ng UNC, sa Lucky ata yon. So this thing cost around 90 pesos something. So, what I advise is buy a one rim bond paper, and what I do is yung isang bond paper, kinakat ko siya sa dalawa. So, this is a long bond paper, tapos tigkat ko siya sa dalawa, then I put this one. Yeah, so parang ito na yung bagong notebooks ko. So, what I find more efficient kasi there are subjects that you really do not need to take a notes because nasa PowerPoint na talaga yon. That subject just requires memorization and you don't need notes to do it. But what will consume most of your notes, I swear, most of your notes, what will consume is your major subject, especially calculus, especially physics, something like this. So what you need is a lot of bond paper to write your notes. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, mostly practice problems sa physics, something like this. So just like my advice, practice and expose yourself to different types of problems. And now, what I recommend you to buy: clipboard, one rim bond paper, this one, what you call this, parang paper clip, something like that, parang clamp, especially if you already have a bond paper. And it's also nice to buy a paper clip, something like this paper clip, to organize your notes. And most importantly, I also recommend to buy this. So this folder will serve as your notebook. Compilation siya ng mga notes mo. And this is what I observed. So among the folder, yung calculus and physics or any math related, yan yung folder na may super kapal na bond paper because that subject really ganyan karami yung need mo i-practice para makapasa, something like that. Meanwhile, yung mga other subjects ko, yung mga minor one, super tataas ang grades ko noon. Tapos yung mga notes ko, parang gaganito lang, super konti lang. So, if you buy a notebook, parang hindi siya worth it. Kasi considering yung major subject mo will consume a lot of paper. And yeah, you need a one rim bond paper. So, in my case, something like this. So for example, I had this it's written math formulas and notes. And I also recommend having this, what you call this index card. And what I like to do is that I write the problem here, and yung mga answer nilalagay ko sa likod. And if there's a quiz or if there's an exam, I will practice it just by looking at it. Hindi ko muna titignan yung mga answers. And yeah. So, nung first semester, yung notes ko sa calculus, yung mga practice problem ko, inabot yung paper ko ng ganito. Tapos yung grade ko, alam nyo kung ilan? 84. Something like that. But, you may think that ang baba naman ng 84. Like bro, imagine the struggle that I made because during high school, especially the junior high school, my grade in mathematics is always 97, 98, 99 because kagaya ng sinabi ko, kung ano yung itinuro sa high school, math, yan din yung lalabas sa exam. However, in engineering, it is very different. Ituturo sa yung concept, very simple example, but when it comes to the actual quiz, when it comes to the actual exam, yung yung mga problem niya is very, very different or very, very advanced that requires more exposure, more advanced algebraic manipulation, something like that. So, yeah. What you need talaga is practice. And, yeah. This is just my first practical advice. Okay. So, second practical advice. It is also similar to mathematics. Okay. So, I have written here, in terms of mathematics, this is my advice. Whenever your professor is writing something on the board, do not copy it muna. For now, wag mo na munang i-copy. Instead, listen to what is the professor writing. Listen to the process. Just look at it and try to understand as much as possible. And kapag tapos nang isolve yung example, that's the moment you take a picture. Take a picture of it. Do not take a notes during class. Ngayon, kapag tapos na yung klase nyo, that's the moment that you will open the cell phone, the picture, then you will look at the problem again and try to solve it on your own. Tapos kapag meron kang hindi na gets, babalikan mo yung pinicturean mo, yung sample problem, and you will do it again. So in that sense, parang nagkakaroon ka ng priming, and after that, parang pino-force mo yung sarili mo na ma-recall kung paano yung process. So this is way more efficient than just copying than the moment when the professor is writing on the board and you're also writing on your notes, because trust me, most of the professor, especially in mathematics, super bibilis nila magsulat and super bibilis nila mag-explain, that kapag sinabayan mo sila, parang gakaroon ka ng moment na, ala, yung notes mo ganito pa lang, yung nasulat sa blackboard ganito nakahaba, something like that. So you want to avoid that mistake that I made. Okay. So practical advice number 3. Sinulat ko dito, practice a lot. Promise, practice a lot. I learned it in the hard way. So, do not just review the example given by professor, go beyond it. Practice a lot of problem, especially the difficult one. So, the professor loves giving quiz that is very different from example. For the love of God, expose yourself to a lot of different problems. Yan. So, may advice to you. For example, okay, kinakabahan na ako mag-ano sa engineering. And anong pwede kong gawin? Ito yung may advice ko. So, if you're going to take computer engineering at Ateneo, so yung first semester nyo, meron kang differential calculus, second semester meron kang integral calculus. So, what I recommend if you're grade 12, since graduate na nga mga grade 12 bukas, graduation na nila, yung iba graduate na, tapos bakasyon na nila. So, what I recommend during vacation, puntahan nyo yung YouTube channel, parang NG Nerd Math, parang combine yan, ENGINERDMATH, Engineered Math. And look for his playlist, especially the differential calculus and integral calculus. What I love about this YouTuber compared to other YouTubers is that he really gives a lot of problem that will expose you to different scenarios and different format. Talagang mahahasa ka dyan. Okay? Practical advice number 4, surround yourself with the great people. So, ito yung sinulat ko dito. There are times that insight from other people will save you from repeating their same mistake. So, we have formed this study group when during the first semester, yung patapos na yung semester namin. So, during the first semester, especially the final exam, we have conformed this study group about differential calculus, kasi ganun talaga kaya yung differential calculus. And yung sinabi ko nga, yung si JB, yung top 1 namin sa sa batch namin, sa section namin. He taught us his way, and it really opened my mind na pwede pala itong ganitong approach na to. And indeed, his approach really helped me a lot during the final exam, na confident ako na almost 90% plus yung grade ko doon sa final exam. Okay, so practical tips number 5. Do not join as organization officer for now. So being volunteer or member is fine. However, advice ng mga senior namin is that do not join organization yet and enjoy being freshman. Do not yet commit to heavy responsibilities and take that moment to adjust. Okay? So, practical advice number 7, install RemNote. So, RemNote is para siyang Anki, parang note-taking and flashcard apps. And what I like about this is that, para siyang notebook na compilation. So, you don't need to buy a notebook. Instead, you will have a digital notebook. So, whenever there's a lesson, ang ginagawa ko is nakikinig lang ako and I take pictures of the PowerPoint slides kasi minsan hindi na ina-upload, and and the notes sa mga boards. And after class, what I do is that kung mathematics yan, ang ginagawa ko, parang halimbawa ito, kung mathematics yan, parang tinatry ko na i-solve siya ulit using the notes. However, kung ano man yan, yung parang focus siya sa mga information, mga history, mga facts, something like that, what I do is that after class, I go to RemNote and type in the notes and create flashcard at the same time. So, when it is a factual information or scientific information that rely mostly on memorization, I recommend rem note. But if it is mathematics, I recommend bond paper and ball pen. Practice a lot, something like that. So here's the last advice that I will give to you, the practical tips. So spend some time being alone in library, but also allocate time spending with friends. So this is what I usually do. So during lunchtime, I do not eat alone, but always I always eat with my classmates. So that's at that moment parang nagkakaroon kayo ng parang bond at parang familiarity with each other. Something like that. And it will really help a lot, especially when there's a groupings. As you get to know more about them, you will get to know their weaknesses and their strengths. And kapag nag-groupings, parang you already know the dynamic of each other, something like that. Yeah, so but having time alone in library is also highly important because sinasabi ko sa inyo, iba yung amount of focus that you can dedicate kapag mag-isa ka lang sa library compared kapag meron kang kasama ng mga friends mo kapag nag-aaral. Kasi kapag meron kang friends, parang uy, parang there will be a moment na magkasalita sila at yung momentum mo na nabibuild parang nahihinto. At that moment, parang yung focus mo na-interrupt, something like that. Yeah. So that is my practical advice. Hope you do your best. Sa mga college student dyan, especially those aspiring as engineering student, wish you the best. Please do your best for your future self.